right, guys, welcome to another segment of Unlocked Radio here on Morning Show Central Radio Network.
That is right. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/pages/Unlocked Radio. You can follow us on Twitter at Unlocked Radio. The YouTube channel is the same, user/Unlocked Radio, or just go to the website unlockedradio.com and get all that information there. You can also check out other shows on the MSC Radio Network by going to morningshowcentral.com. You can watch our show live like you're probably doing now on morningshowcentral.com/watch for those of you who are on the app. For those of you who aren't on the app and watching us live, you can watch us on, or you can listen to the show on your smartphone. Search your app store for TuneIn Radio, download the app, then search for Morning Show Central. Also, you can call into the show toll-free at 888-668-0742.
Which we will be using to do our giveaway later on.
That is right. We'll get to that in a bit. We want to introduce our guests here. We have Ben over here, Ben Mundy. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? The reason why we brought you onto the show is because you seem to be a little bit of a superhero and comic expert, including your profession.
You know it. Huge Deadpool enthusiast, so here to do the Deadpool review for the new game that just came out. But I work at Carol and John's Comic Shop over in Cam's Corners in Lorraine. Been there for 3 years out of the 22 years they've been in business. So.
Excellent shop. I've been going there for almost a decade myself. Used to buy Magic cards there, and now I go there to buy comics. So
absolutely. Anything you guys like comic-wise, if you guys are superhero fans, anything like that, definitely check out the shop. It's
we'll get it for you. Absolutely.
And we have over here Matthew Dixon. He is a representative of the retail gaming industry, and he's going to have a little bit to say about this too. He's also a superhero enthusiast, and we have an entire superhero-themed show for you tonight. Say hi to our guests, obviously.
What's going on?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself as well, what brings you on the show, and why you have value.
Alrighty. Well, I work in the retail sector of the gaming industry, first-hand experience with new games and new releases, and also I am a huge superhero fanatic as well. We'll be talking a little bit about Injustice: Gods Among Us. Going to be doing a review for that game, as well as doing some cool Injustice trivia.
Yep, that's right. Let's see. We want to talk about some of the upcoming titles first, because that's a lot of things that people might not know about. You always know a little bit. You get bits and pieces here and there. You watch YouTube. We got a lot of superhero games coming up. We have Infinity Crisis. We have the new Batman Arkham Origins. And we have the Lego Marvel Superheroes coming out as well. I don't know. Why don't you guys tell us a little bit? You were in the retail gaming industry. Can you tell us a little bit about those games that people should be looking forward to? Release dates, how to, different ways they might be able to pre-order them, maybe how much they're going to be going for, and what to expect in those games.
Certainly. The first one coming out in the near future is going to be the Lego Marvel Superheroes. It comes out the first week in August. It's going to be available for pre-order any major retail facility that does pre-orders for gaming, so Best Buy, Walmart, GameStop. It's going to take place like all Lego games, but it's going to have a huge open world of New York City. In addition to that, there's going to be tons of Easter eggs, like they're going to put in the Baxter Building, Stark Tower, and then there's literally over 120 different playable Marvel characters in the game.
That's a bit ridiculous. I mean, they've done Lego Star Wars, they've done Lego Indiana Jones, they've done all sorts of different Lego-themed games, but none of them have nearly that kind of expanse of characters. Like, how exactly are they going to make all of those interesting and unique?
Well, essentially, they're taking the entire Marvel Universe in a battle against Galactus in the game, and they plan on showcasing almost every Marvel superhero team-up in the process. You'll see characters like Daredevil, Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer,
Deadpool.
Deadpool is part of it as well. The X-Men, numerous.
Is Deadpool
X-Men
really
in the
appropriate
game.
for Legos?
He is in the promo images that they first released for the game.
I feel like he's
They're
going to be
going
bleeped out a lot. a lot of bleeping.
I don't even know if bleeping is appropriate for Legos.
Hey, you know what, man? Lego does their own their own thing. You take the Harry Potter games. They had one per movie / book, whatever. Except for the Lego versions. Lego versions could do 1 through 4 and then 5 through 7. So, I mean...
Yeah, they kind of have their own agenda, but they always do manage to pull it off. They're always really good games. They're always really good sellers.
Cut down the graphics, and you can make the game a lot more interesting.
They're very solid sellers, too, just because there's a ridiculous amount of replay value to the game. I mean, once you go through the main storyline and you play somewhere between like 20 and 40 hours, depending on what all you're looking for, and if you go for all the hidden bricks and things like that. But then with their newer games, like Lego Batman 2 was the first time they introduced it, and they carried it into the Lord of the Rings, and it seems like they're going to do the same thing with Lego Marvel. They have a huge open world expanse. They added voiceovers for all the cast members. So the cast members for Lego Marvel having over 120 voice actors is going to be absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, it's a nice little budget they got there.
Right. Well, it's Marvel. They're owned by Disney.
like
So
almost
Yeah,
pulling
they've
people off
got
the
they've got
street.
money.
Yeah, they're almost pulling people off the street to voice act at that point. I mean, do they have all good voice actors?
I'm sure you'll see a lot of duplicates for the lesser known heroes because I mean, Silver Sable's going to be in it. And I guarantee you, maybe some of the people listening like Silver Sable, what?
Right.
But there's going to be a lot of duplication. I think
Yeah.
you see that in a lot of games, especially with like background characters. Characters don't get to see a lot of face time in the game. You see it in TV shows and things too that they will take a prominent voice actor doing another voice in the series and have them tweak it a bit for another character.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic for the comic shop crowd though too, because you get like the Wednesday after that game releases, I'm sitting there with new books and everybody walks in like, oh.
Do you guys actually have Lego set up?
No, we had some like every once in a while, but I mean, you get the people who see Silver Sable or Daredevil's like.
Right, it's an
Like
interesting way to
Dark
let
Twin
it's an
and-
interesting way to let people who know about some heroes learn about a lot more.
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
they can go to going to the comic shop now. They can go really in depth.
One of my first experiences with Deadpool was from Marvel Ultimate Alliance. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you don't know who it is when you're looking at them, or like they had Cloak and Dagger. You know, like
Right, there's-
you don't
there's
know.
a
You
whole
walk into
lot
the comic
for one
shop, you
person
ask
to
the guy
know.
who knows. You know, it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, moving on, there's another one that I really wanted to talk about is Batman Arkham Origins. The Batman Arkham series has done very well so far. Every single time, with Arkham Asylum in the first place, obviously did well enough in its own right, and then Arkham City improved a lot upon all of that and made it even better. What can we expect from Arkham Origins as far as the improvements again and how the story is actually going to go? Because what we've heard is that it's going to be going back a bit, Quentin
Correct.
Tarantino style.
The whole premise behind Batman Arkham Origins, it takes you back. It's a year 2 Batman story. So he's essentially, this is the end of his second year as Batman. It is Christmas Eve, and Black Mask, a prominent villain in the onset of Batman's career, hires 8 of the world's deadliest assassins. The 2 that they've released so far are Deadshot and Deathstroke. To take out the Bat on Christmas Eve.
Okay, so they're going to be some legit assassins, not just any random Jason Bourne to try to take on Batman with all his gadgets and massive martial arts experience.
No, you're going to see a lot of DC villains that you're going to recognize, and they've hinted at in prior Arkham games. Like if you remember from Arkham City, Black Mask was hinted to more than a couple of times throughout the Riddler events and the actual just main story of the game, as well as they did a cameo spotlight for Deadshot. He had his own side mission in the second game, and they mention Deathstroke in one of the Easter eggs you can find as well.
Wonderful. So we're looking at a lot of backtracking and a lot more of the lesser known in the comic industry. Apparently, they kind of went with a lot of the headliners, and because those were so successful, they're trying to bring out some of the underlying characters.
Definitely,
Looking
especially
forward to
with
that.
DC. DC actually said in their video game community that this is like the year of Deathstroke. They really brought him back hard with his appearance in Injustice. They made him a very key
Yeah.
central player. They explained a lot more of his storyline. They made him more believable and more interesting, I think, than that's been seen out of him in a long time. And it really does do a good job to drive, the intrigue behind the other 6 assassins. And they've even announced that he's going to be a playable character, if only in the challenge modes for Arkham Origins.
Definitely looking forward to that.
That alone.
Rio, can you
Yeah,
bring up chat real quick?
Yeah, that's
while we're on topic.
Yeah,
here.
while we're doing that, the one thing I want to ask actually, as far as Arkham Origins goes, how are they going to really explain? Because it's going back in time, but obviously with the gameplay, with the video game, you have to improve upon all the things that he can do, all the game mechanics.
Absolutely.
You see all sorts of new gadgets and things that he's using that he didn't have any access to beforehand. How does that get explained as to why he can do all these other things he couldn't do before?
Well, if you remember from Arkham Asylum, the whole premise of that game was kind of sprung upon Batman, and he visited his own private Batcave and made a lot of impromptu gadgets in that game, as well as in Arkham City, like the electric gun and other things were made impromptu with the environment around him to show off his scientific expertise. I think going back in time, it being a year 2 Batman story, it gives you a really good chance to introduce new gadgets because he's still trying things out. He's still trying to figure out what works as his flow for Batman. Do I need more grappling hooks? Do I need more batarangs? Do I need new types of things? And also, he's going to be starting the game as Batman. There's no getting jumped in Arkham Asylum. There's no random intro to Arkham City where he's just all of a sudden thrown in as Bruce Wayne into this citywide prison. It's going to be well set up, interluded and it's going to have a lot of opportunities for them to showcase new gadgets, methods of transportation, combat styles, without really taking away from the prior installments.
I think as a player, I'd really like to see, like, continuity-wise, a happy balance between maybe more primitive gadgets, like you mentioned, but a different way to use them gameplay style or controller-wise, you know what I mean? Like, the Wii U made some really good improvements and that I think they can learn from for just regular console, like 360 and PS3, for the interface with his detective mode and the sensors and whatnot. I think that'd be cool if they can work that into the game kind of with his more useful or like basic gadgets.
Funny that you mentioned that. That is something they're taking a whole lot larger approach to in this new game. They really want to focus a lot more on the detective aspect of the game, and they're also going to be focusing a lot more on the cinematic aspect as well.
I mean, it's classic Batman. Like,
Exactly.
I'm excited to see the 6 other assassins, because as an avid Batman reader, past and present, like, you got he trained with some of his most mortal enemies, you know what I mean, in the early days to become from Bruce Wayne to Batman. So, and
it's good to take a step back too, because they can bring back characters like the Joker and Ra's al Ghul and Bane and Killer Croc in a different light. And early in their criminal careers, people like Victor Zsasz and all of those guys can have a new chance to shine and do a little bit more than they were previously allowed to do in the other games.
And as far as Batman dealing with them, I mean, this is his first time meeting them, so you get more of an impact on Batman as a character, like seeing how his rogues gallery initially treats him. You know what I mean? How he initially treats them.
Yeah, that's very true. Batman, that's a really good game that I'm definitely looking forward to going into. I want to talk a little bit more in depth about a game that's actually already out. A game that I know at least 2 of you have played pretty in depth. I haven't well enough. But and Chip is going to have a whole lot more to say on this subject matter, but we want to talk about Injustice, because there's a whole. I mean, we're sticking with going from Marvel stuff with the Marvel Lego superheroes, but to Injustice, to going to DC. There's not a whole lot of games that really cover DC itself, and on top of that, this is a huge fighting game that's actually successful with DC characters. I want you guys to kind of talk a little bit about this and share with our audience what makes Injustice so good as a game, and not just kind of like a Mortal Kombat fighting game with DC skins.
All right, well, basically, I want to go out and throw this out there. That Mortal Kombat versus DC, that was horrible.
That's kind of what I mean.
With you.
I haven't,
terrible game.
I haven't met anyone who actually liked that game. So,
like
with that
15
being
minutes,
said,
maybe.
yeah. I mean, like, you know, you play it, it's like, oh, really? Okay, whatever. But yeah, so this one, it actually steps away from the blood and gore. But
to an extent. It's still there, which is cool.
Yeah,
It's definitely
you still
implied.
actually get to see the impact of, you know, attacks. Oh, you know, you got hit with a laser to the leg. Guess what? Now you have a giant gash in your leg that is visible while you're fighting. Definitely did really good keeping the aggressive Mortal Kombat styling with DC characters, you know, still being not like, oh, I punched you and you just spilled like 4 gallons of blood over there. No one has that much blood, not even superheroes.
Well, I mean, maybe they're just regenerating it that fast.
Wolverine might be able to pull that off.
Or Deadpool.
Or
Yeah, or
Deadpool.
Deadpool.
You know,
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
But yeah, Wolverine, not even DC, so don't worry about that. But yes, I mean, we're looking at, you know, a pretty good game overall. I liked Injustice. Definitely a good game.
I said not as much as a video game person as you guys, but more from a comic shop point of view. I loved the transition of story into that game. Like, yeah, it's a fighting game. Yeah, you can pick it up. You put 2 of your favorite characters against each other, watch the Flash beat the crap out of somebody. You know what I mean? Like, sweet, there's that aspect. But it had a comprehensive storyline that included a lot of elements that DC's been pushing in their comics in the last year. You know, you got the multiverse, you got the split of worlds, you got the fact that they can communicate between each other.
Yeah, aspect of DC in general, and it's well established. It's a wonderful system.
It's
very
very attractive for DC.
It really
readers.
is. It really is. And Injustice definitely emphasized that, and it kept going with that. So I mean, it appeals to the comic book nerds. It appeals to the fighting game nerds. It appeals to just pretty much everybody. I mean, I don't see anyone that wouldn't like this game, except for people who like racing games.
No, one thing I really liked about it, and from what I saw, is like going through a story mode in a fighting game is, and sometimes story modes and their stories in comics are very kind of textbook. You'll see, like, it's basically they go around, they have to do this thing, they have kind of monologues in like the kind of DC Comics movies that have been popping up very recently on Netflix.
Yeah.
You'll have the very cheesy kind of duty monologue and, the force for good. And then in fighting games, you have just the contrived, horrible excuse to fight. Like, oh, hey, you're in the street, I recognize you. You look like you can fight. Let's fight. But in Injustice, they did a very good job of giving you a really good reason for them to fight. Give you motivation. And even when Batman has to fight himself, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of things that I like about that game. And comic book enthusiasts should have the same effect.
Oh yeah, the Superman, controlling the, like basically a brutal police force out to kill off other superheroes and take over the world kind of, aspect. Definitely cool. One of my favorite fights was actually Green Lantern Hal Jordan versus Yellow Lantern, and I was like, wait, so you're fighting yourself, different skin.
Welcome to the multiverse, man.
It was an awesome mechanic, and
it was great, and the storyline did a great job blending. I think with cinematic, and there's a confrontation, and little tiny loading bar to let you know, hey, pick up your controller, and then go straight into the fight.
That was one of the best parts about that game, is because just graphically it was a beautiful game. Like got their shading was great, their frame rate was amazing.
The gameplay and the cinematic had the same graphics, and that was beautiful. You rarely see that.
Very seamlessly from cutscene to actual fight. Like you almost can't tell. Like if you weren't paying attention, you would miss the intro to your battle. It was just you would just start getting your butt kicked, and you're like, oh my god.
Oh crap! Turn the controller on quick. Yeah,
right. I did like it. It was literally almost, and someone in the chat actually mentioned that this is literally almost like watching a CG movie. You were literally watching a movie that occasionally, now there's a fight, so now I get to take a part.
So Green Lantern didn't change. It's still completely CGI.
Right, well, that part.
Yes, very true.
I'm sorry, those abs were not real. Anyways,
well, the suit's not real, and technically superpowers aren't real either. But it doesn't matter. It very much.
Hey, superpowers could be real.
There's that guy who can bathe in ice for like 9 days or whatever.
And they actually show something on TV about some guy who literally just nobody with the naked eye could see these things move, and he would cut them in half with the sword, like an airsoft pellet. He got shot at him, and he cut the airsoft pellet in half with a sword.
I'm looking
that
that
he
up.
just does something on a different sensory level that they could not explain otherwise.
That's crazy.
And there was another guy who actually climbed a mountain in shorts. And that was it, because his body just doesn't react to cold. Certain things like that are kind of weird. But now, of course, having a ring, from a universal justice force is a little bit different. That puts a suit on you and lets you turn anything you want into green awesomeness. That's a little bit different. But
it's all willpower, man.
Yeah, but I mean, you were talking about the multiverse and everything else. Also, comic books kind of rewrite things a lot. How do you?
Well, I think I know where you're going. As far as Injustice goes, the best part about it for me is that you can explore that universe beyond the game. They made a comic book that was online exclusive just through DC's Comixology or whatever. I don't know. However you download them with DC. I don't know. I like the paper copy because I'd be out of a job otherwise. But they made a comic book that gave you backstory and continuing story on the game. It's start, middle, finish. Like they talk about stuff in the game and they show it in the comic book.
Right. It wasn't just
sometimes disappointing, most of the time not. Like you get the great how Superman got to that breaking point.
Yeah.
Because in the cinematics and whatnot, it's implied. In the comics, you're living it, man. It's really cool. Well, I think it's a 14 or 15 issue miniseries. You got plenty to read and plenty to experience. And once you play that game, you're like, I want more.
You got to think if they tried to use the game to explain that entire thing, it would have gotten a little old, a little.
The mixture of the two is truly unprecedented. We've had comics based on video games before, video games based on comics based on their success, but the fact that the two were released at the same time. There were a couple issues right before the game came out, hyped it up a little bit with the comic crowd, and as soon as it did, we've been selling out of that comic nonstop. It's an unbelievably good read.
Yeah, I mean,
on top of it, even if you don't play the game.
Planned correlation is a beautiful thing if it's done right.
I think you're going to see it more and more too. I really do. I think Arkham. the Arkham City games did it with 2 or 3 different miniseries. I'm sure Arkham Origins is going to do it. It's great. You get more of what you like.
With it being successful, of course, everyone's going to start doing it more. So, But yeah, I mean, like aside from just the storyline, we had the Stars Labs, which were like little challenge maps.
Yeah.
I like those a lot too.
Those are great.
Those
I'm glad you brought that up.
those were out there. I mean, like some of them, it's like okay, sneak, you have to be stealthy, you have to practice your skills. Others were like, all right, mass out this combo. Okay, others were like, hey, test your situational awareness. Like,
Didn't they-
what's
And then
going
they
on
had
in the
the,
background,
the-
what's going on here,
A good
there.
one to reference was there's a
Superman versus
fight.
Flash race. I like that
Yeah,
one too.
That was cool. Another one they did was they messed with your health bar and they dropped Superman down to like no health, and every time you're fighting Bane,
Yeah,
and the
and you
sun
had to
would
jump.
shine.
You had to jump into the sunbeams to heal.
Yeah.
to
Because
continue
that's-
fighting.
They also
Yeah.
had one.
It's
yeah.
a great use of continuity. Like if
Yeah.
someone didn't know that, like, oh, Superman's powered by the sun. What? Oh,
Boom.
and then you learn it.
Yeah,
Like
or-
it's
yeah.
cool.
Or
And it also
yeah.
added more story to the game in itself because they did have their
Yeah.
own underwritten little story, and they weren't anything amazing.
They're like 3-minute challenges.
But
and
if you
get-
wanted to know more about each character and what their motivations and what their skill types are, you got a really good view of that from
Yeah.
those. And then it's a good way to add content like they did with Superman Red Sun and Blackest Night and
Yeah.
all that other stuff.
yeah,
as
the
well.
thoroughness really shined through on
Yeah.
that game.
Yeah.
It really
and
did.
with the Stars Lab, like instead of having multiple difficulty settings like every game seems to have now, it was just one set difficulty. But you could go with you beat it, you get 1 star. Then there's like 2 hidden objectives to get the 2 and the second and third star. So I mean, it definitely adds to the difficulty without forcing you to choose a difficulty at the beginning. And I really like that because I mean, some of those challenges were actually a pain, and others were like, really, that's it. But the objectives on them were always just like, okay, this. I got to take another shot at this.
They
It
messed
lets
up.
you
It
be
was
comfortable with
good.
your own play style.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm
It-
not going to burn through and kill every 3-star thing, but I want to experience the mission. I want to do Flash versus Superman. I want,
Yeah,
Now, it
And
was
worked
mentioned-
out great. Not to mention all the different battle tiers they have.
Yeah.
Villains only, heroes only,
There's
poison health bar.
15 different battle tiers, one of which is beating every character in the game with 1 health bar.
Yeah,
Which is it's a bit ridiculous.
I
They
mean,
also
little bit.
I want to point
Good
out that
news
they
is you can
actually
play it on easy.
we were talking about stuff that they add to it, and somebody in the chat mentioned that when you get there's a season pass that you can get an extra downloadable characters such as Lobo, Batgirl, Scorpion, and General Zod, so they
Scorpion
can
in there.
even get
Well,
extra
it's owned
stuff.
it's owned by Mortal Kombat, so I mean, like,
Let's
one
take this.
character.
Let's take this in perspective. Mortal Kombat, Neversoft, Ed Boon. They're really big about pushing their franchise. Mortal
Yeah.
Kombat in recent years has kind of lost steam, lost some popularity among the fighting game crowd with games like Street Fighter and BlazBlue and. There's just a slew
Yeah.
of things out there. Tekken Tag, Dead or
well,
Alive
the,
5.
the biggest thing is
Calibur.
everyone's
Soul
like,
Calibur.
everyone's been like, okay, Mortal Kombat's done. You haven't really done anything new.
Exactly,
really.
and it's a ploy for them to show their characters in a more dynamic light.
Yeah.
Really, it was cool if you played with him. I haven't toyed with him too much, but when he first comes on the scene, his intro, like every fighting game, your character's an intro before they come onto the scene. He is in the Mortal Kombat tournament, ready to slay Sub-Zero, and he gets pulled into the DC universe through
Yeah.
one of the
So
rifts
they
in
ex-
time,
yeah,
and
they
that bomb
explained it.
opens up.
Yeah.
So it's kind of as much of a jab as it was to DC fans who really wanted their truly own unique DC fighting
Someone
game.
corrected you in the
They-
chat, by the way. They said that it's Nether Realm. Neversoft is actually dead,
Pardon me.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
and everybody really wants Riddler in this chat. Apparently,
Riddler.
I'll take Riddler.
Riddler would've been a
shows
good
up in
idea,
the
yeah.
game
Way
as
better than
a background
Scorpion.
character.
Yeah, I would have preferred like Riddler and Scarecrow to be like on the downloadable
Give me the
characters or something like
Penguin.
that.
I would have
the
preferred.
Penguin.
Penguin would have been a really interesting
Umbrella
character.
would have been awesome.
That's like the Wario of in Smash.
Right?
Of the Justice
I love
Universe.
playing Wario and Smash. I'm not even
And
gonna.
here's the thing, that's like the biggest part of that game, and I think we've yet to mention it, is just the completely amazing cast list and
Yeah.
just how limitless their
Yeah.
potential with that game really is.
Oh yeah,
I do
could
want to
release
wrap up on this
hundreds
game though because we have a couple other things we need to
Yeah.
talk about. That like those are really good. One, we want to promote on for those of you in the chat. There is a chance, like we said, for doing giveaways. Chip, why don't you tell them about what our giveaways are?
All right, so we're gonna have trivia questions a little later on. We're gonna be giving away the Injustice T-shirt, size extra large,
Which is our main prize.
absolutely beautiful shirt. I love it. Unfortunately, it's white, so I won't wear it. That's why I'm giving it away.
Racist.
It is completely unworn. I actually took it out of the package earlier today. I don't know why I did that. Probably to show you guys. And I also have a Battlefield 4 poster, if I can actually get this up here. There we go. Battlefield 4 release poster, also up for grabs.
Now, granted, not necessarily superhero related, but video game related, and that is the premise of our show.
It's
We're
free, you're
going to have a little trivia here. Once we get the right answers in and get enough views, as Chip stated on our show, how many viewers do we need to get in here? How many people interacting in the chat?
I wanted 15, but for giveaways. But apparently we can't do that.
And not
because
just
no one
watching,
cares
but
about
actually
me.
interacting on the show.
Yeah, no
You're
one seems to
probably
care
gonna
about
get
me.
at least 10 before we get one in there. But the trivia question we're actually going to have provided from our special guest on the show. Ben, why don't you tell them what they're...
Well, actually, hold on. In order to answer these questions, we want calls in for the answers.
That is true.
So the number was 888-668-0742. Once again, 888-668-0742. Go ahead and give us a call in with your answers, and we will be
the
giving away
first
these
person to get it
prizes.
first person to get it right gets the prize. Now for the Battlefield poster, Ben, we have your question is the one that Ben's going to decide who gets this shirt.
All right, it's a toughie.
No,
It's a
I thought
dead
Ben was
poster.
giving away the poster.
Oh, sorry, but yeah, Ben's giving away the poster.
Ben is giving away the
Dixon's
poster.
giving away the shirt.
So here you go,
Sorry,
Ben.
Reverse that.
Sorry, man.
That's
It's
going to be
okay.
yours.
Black man, no one
I
cares
just
about him
gained,
right
like a whole lot of weapons and body armor and stuff. This is awesome.
All right.
Can I just walk around like this all day?
I wish.
now. Right.
Okay, so for
Why
the
don't you go
trivia
ahead and put that
question-
in front of the mic? There we go. Down that way.
Running
Yep.
at the near speed of
right
light.
there.
Or we can always just bring it down too. Like, yeah, just put it over.
Yeah,
There we
they're
go.
perfect. Everyone can see exactly
There we
what
go.
it looks like. Now, for our trivia question,
Okay, every hardcore Deadpool fan knows that he's based on Deathstroke, DC characters, Slade Wilson, Mercenary, all that crap. Deadpool's kind of the clown version of him. He appeared in one DC comic unofficially. Deadpool's a Marvel character typically, but he crossed over at one point in one series in one issue. If you can name that issue, it was an unofficial appearance. They never said his name, but there's yellow voice boxes. It's very clear that he's the Merc with a mouth. If you can name that series and issue, that would be lovely.
all right.
If you get
So,
this poster.
series and issue for which comic Deadpool appeared in DC.
DC comic.
And you get that Battlefield poster. And now for the Injustice T-shirt. Now, granted, we're still going to need more viewers before we give this away. We want to hit that 20 mark of people actually interacting and asking questions in
There
the
you go,
chat.
Matt.
That's a cool shirt.
That is a cool shirt.
You get to
If,
show off that shirt a little bit.
if no
Pull it up
one,
forward. Let Ben hold
yeah.
that up
Here, do you wanna-
closer so everyone can see that.
if we don't get enough people in here, I'm just gonna have these two, fight to the death for it. So,
All right, the world we
I know
blood.
jujitsu. I might win.
You guys want to check this out?
All right,
All
yeah.
right, we might have to make
pretty
this
good
fair and give him a
Injustice
grappling
T-shirt,
hook.
pretty limited edition. Now, what we're gonna have Dixon's got a question for everybody here, and it's very Injustice related. However well you know Injustice, and now however well you know comics is what's going to determine whether or not you get this shirt.
Alrighty. In the game Injustice, there were two members in the cast of playable characters that were originally members of the Teen Titans. Can you name these characters?
Sorry, the two original members of the Teen Titans to appear in Injustice: Gods Among Us. The
As
first
playable
person
characters.
to call in and get that answer right is going to get that shirt.
Yeah, as playable characters. I think
As
it's,
as playable characters, that has to be
even
stressed.
the one
Right, as playable characters, not any of the downloaded stuff either, or any of the extras, but in when the game released, original characters in it.
all right. So once again, the number was 888-668-0742. So give us a call in, and
Yeah, we'll take your your
Yep.
call in the air.
yeah, we'll take them. And
Try not to sound stupid.
Yeah.
And make sure you know the answer.
All right.
Well, you
so,
could sound stupid, but we might make fun of you a little
I
bit.
mean,
Well,
we're
maybe.
probably
As long
gonna make
as
fun
you
of
know
you. Don't get that wrong. But I mean, hey, you might win something. So.
Yeah, that's a few things. Now, we have all sorts of other things that we still need to talk about. We spent a lot of time talking about Injustice because it has so many different heroes in there, and there's a lot of stuff that we can talk about. There's another game that I want to talk about. We go on the break. I believe we're going to be getting a call in here now, actually,
We have a call.
on the air, waiting to hear it. Caller, you're on the air. I believe. I'm not hearing him. Did he drop?
He dropped.
And he dropped. Oh, man.
Aw, man.
All
I
right,
had
so-
goosebumps. I did. I was excited.
I was wondering. I'm a
Let's
little
try
curious
to
as to which
redo that
question they're
call.
trying to answer.
Yeah, that's the other one I'm trying to figure out.
I really hope it's the Deadpool one.
I really do.
I
Yeah.
hope somebody gets that because that's a good question.
That is a really good
I
question.
did it.
I'm
I did
surprised
that
you
question
came
at
up
our
with that.
Deadpool midnight release for the game at Carol and John's, and only the issue, not the number.
All right, looks like we got
only the
another phone
series.
call coming in,
That guy got.
or possibly
All
the same
right,
call.
maybe this time.
Hello, guys.
Oh,
Yes.
All right, who are we on the phone with?
You're with Bobby Cruz.
All right, Bobby Cruz, our resident Cleveland fighting expert. We've been talking to him about a little bit. Mr. Blacktastic here may have an answer for us. Which question are you trying to answer here?
I'll answer the Injustice question.
The Injustice question. Who are the two original members of the Teen Titans to appear in Justice: Gods Among Us?
That would be Raven and Cyborg.
All All right.
Cyborg.
Correct.
He's got it. All
You got
right.
a t-shirt,
Now
good
we
sir.
do. We're still looking for a little bit more interaction in the chat. So if you can get some more people to come on the chat to the website that you obviously went to and interact with us, ask us a couple more questions. That Injustice shirt is yours.
Most definitely,
We
man.
definitely appreciate that. Oh, by the way, which Injustice character is your current favorite? Who's your main?
I like Solomon Grundy right now. I play him a lot.
Nice.
Good choice.
See,
That's a rough
not
character
bad,
to
not
play.
bad. Well, we definitely thank you for calling, Bobby, and hopefully the viewers will help you win that shirt too.
All right.
All right, guys. See you soon.
All right, and let's see if we can get someone to answer the Deadpool question, so we can get rid of this poster
That's a
because I'm tired of
toughie.
keeping it in my car.
That's very true. There's a couple things that we want to get into, and a couple of them we're going to have to get into the break. One of which, Ben is going to be reviewing Deadpool for us, the new game that came out for PS3, 360, and PC. We're also going to be talking about a little tabletop game called Hero Clicks that's also very superhero related.
Love that game.
And then we are going to be talking about the accuracies between video games and comics, a few things, and I want you people in the chat to get involved with that as well. Right now, you're watching Morning Show Unlocked Radio on Morning Show Central. Again, like us on Facebook, Unlocked Radio, Twitter, Unlocked Radio. Same with the YouTube. Or go to unlockedradio.com to get all of our information and watch our old episodes. You're watching morningshowcentral.com. We'll be back in 7 to 10.
All right.
Okay, he was PMSing.
You're listening to Morning Show Central Radio Network.
I know. Oh my God, I know what we're gonna do. Oh, it's so delicious, I can almost taste it.
If you're looking for the best sub shop in town, look no further. Hanini Subs, located at 7310 Lorraine Avenue, is the place for you. Stop in for a cold cut sub, cheeseburger and fries, wingdings and fries, and so much more.
I can almost taste it.
Hanini Subs at 7310 Lorraine Avenue is open 24 hours a day. Check them out on Facebook, facebook.com/burrito crazy. And if you mention MSC Radio Network, you'll get $1 off your meal. It's all good at Hanini Subs.
So damn good.
The following message is for those with a credit score of 800 and below. Who wouldn't want better credit? Did you ever wonder how different life would be from just having a higher credit score? Are you tired of being turned down for any kind of loan or only offered high interest rates because your credit score is holding you prisoner? Life doesn't have to be that way anymore with access to Turnscor. By increasing your credit score only 50 to 100 points, it can potentially save you tens of thousands of dollars in interest over just a 5 to 10 year period. It can be the difference in getting approved for a personal loan, business loan, high limits on credit cards, a brand new car lease, or even a home mortgage. We see so many ads from companies that give us our credit score, but once we get our credit score, what are they going to do to actually repair your credit? Unfortunately, nothing. Until now, Turnscor is the first automated credit repair platform that is simple, safe, and secure. You'll be empowered right from the comfort of your own computer, so you can challenge and repair your credit report to ensure it's fair and accurate. Turnscor is specifically developed with you in mind. There's no more need for an attorney, credit repair companies, or credit counseling. More importantly, no more need for paying higher fees. Turnscor will help you get back on track and get the buying power you need. So whether you have bad credit, average credit, or even good credit, Turnscor is helping turn lives around one credit score at a time. Go to turnscore.com and enter the promo code MSC20 and get $20 off your purchase. That's TURNSCOR.com. TURNSCOR.com. Turnscore.com. Looking for reliable and affordable Shoutcast audio or video hosting? JWN Media offers complete Shoutcast hosting solutions for business or personal use. All plans come with full listener stats, custom web scripts for implementing your service into your existing website, full server control, super fast network, and huge bandwidth limits, a 99.5% uptime guarantee, and friendly, knowledgeable support personnel dedicated to making your hosting experience fun and easy. With plans starting at only $3 a month, you have no excuse not to get a server of your own. Plus, with the option to add auto DJ and on-demand services, you can be confident your station will be all it can be. Custom plans are also available at their website. Simply visit jwnmedia.com and click the Shoutcast hosting link to get started right now. You're listening to Morning Show Central Radio Network. Hey, local bands and unsigned artists. What if I told you there was a place in Cleveland where you can get your merch made and have it sold in one location? What if I said you could bring your CDs and tickets to upcoming shows to this location? And what if I said you could do live acoustic sets at this location? I bet you're thinking there's no such place in Cleveland. Guess what? You'd be wrong. Contact Rick Navario at Rock City, Cleveland, and tell him you need merch made and you want to sell it in his store. Now, how cool is that? You can tell your fans to come down and get your stuff, and I think he'd ship your products to your fans. And he's local. Contact Rick Navario at Rock City, Cleveland today. 216-622-0377. That's 216-622-0377. If you have a product or service, let people know about it. Get your message out there and advertise on MSC Radio Network. It's easier than you think, and the whole planet is listening. Find out how you can advertise. Email Chris at morningshowcentral.com.
I knew something was wrong when a little pretty white girl ran into a black man's arms.
You're listening to Morning Show Central Radio Network. P99 Technologies. Affordable and reliable web hosting done right. Jumping from one web host to another can be frustrating. Finding a good web host can be unnerving for even the most experienced of web designers. That's why Uncensored Net Noise has chosen P99 Technologies as its web hosting supplier. Established in 1999, P99 Technologies has evolved into a first-class web hosting provider. Its 99.9% uptime rivals many in the industry. That's why they offer their 30-day guarantee, no questions asked. For more information, go to P99.com. P99 Technologies will help you get started with your web presence with honest and expert customer service. P99 Technologies. Affordable and reliable web hosting done right.
This is President Barack Obama, and you're listening to MSC Radio Network.
If you're looking for the best in musical equipment, recording gear, sound reinforcement, and more, Guitar Center has you covered. Guitar Center, located at 26635 Brook Park Road in North Olmsted, has the tools of your trade with the largest selection of music and sound gear in the area. They cater to your musical needs and have the knowledge to help you out. Guitar Center in North Olmsted. MorningshowCentral.com uses them. You should too. Need to know more? Go to GuitarCenter.com. With hundreds of live weather products and layers and thousands of combinations, Weather Studio provides a professional graphics and store monitoring solution without complex user knowledge and without the industry standard price tag of $1,000 plus broadcast systems. Weather Studio displays a plethora of critical atmospheric and geophysical data on an interactive GIS-enabled computer map. Get your free 14-day trial of Weather Studio at their website, weatherstudio.paulmarv.com. That's weatherstudio.paulmarv.com. Lakewood Computer, located at 14035 Madison Avenue in Lakewood, has it all. If you're in need of computer repairs or want to cut the cost of ink cartridges and printing supplies, count on Lakewood Computer in Lakewood, Ohio to provide it all. For the past 5 years, Lakewood Computer has been providing you with a huge assortment of computer equipment and services at very competitive prices. Lakewood Computer purchases and sells pre-owned desktops, laptops, and related equipment, and they offer outstanding prices on aftermarket printing supplies, including toner cartridges and ink cartridges. With 29 years of professional experience, Lakewood Computer is highly confident in their ability to enhance your overall computing experience. Check them out online at joeslakewoodcomputer.com. That's joeslakewoodcomputer.com. Or give them a call toll-free, 855-580-0768. That's 855-580-0768. Call the show toll-free, 1-888-668-0742. You're listening to Morning Show Central Radio Network on morningshowcentral.com. User-friendly and ready to serve. morningshowcentral.com. Oh, great. Not another farm bill request. Check us out on Facebook at facebook.com/morningshowcentral. Denying one farm bill request at a time.
We're back to Unlocked Radio on morningshowcentral.com. Remember that you can like our page on Facebook at Unlocked Radio and Twitter as well at Unlocked Radio. our YouTube channel on there to see any episodes you haven't seen and to watch this one again and see your interaction if you decided to come on the chat. Also, morningshowcentral.com/watch. If you're listening to us on your thing, you can also actually watch us live, watch the actual video feed, and enter our chat. For those of you who are in that chat and want to watch it on the go, you can use the TuneIn Radio app on your cell phone and your smartphone. Search it in your app store, download it, and then search for Morning Show Central. You can also call into the show toll-free at 888-668-0742, and that will allow you to do things like we did earlier in the show and win cash and prizes. Well, scrumdiddly-umptious prizes.
Yeah, no cash. Sorry, guys. I'm a little too broke for the cash, but I do kind of have a weird thing where I win raffles a lot, so I've got a bunch of this type of stuff to give away.
Yeah.
Gave away the shirts. Let's toss that off to the side for now. Bobby's awesome shirt. But we still have this up for grabs. So go ahead and restate that question there, Ben, before we move into the next segment.
Oh, man. Deadpool only appeared in one DC comic unofficially. I just want to know the comic and the issue number. It's pretty easy if you're a Deadpool fanatic. I'm hoping somebody will grab it.
So far, we've talked about Infinity Crisis, Batman Arkham Origins, Lego Marvel Superheroes. We actually didn't get to Infinity Crisis, but I want to, about upcoming titles.
Yeah, I can throw in a quick word about that if you want right now.
It's very true. It's a good game. We've talked about League a lot on the show, and it's evidently a lot like League, but a much more expansive area, not the same simple lanes. And you have Marvel and you have DC characters just running amok.
DC multiverse characters, like different versions.
Yeah, I mean, like Gaslight Joker is one of my favorite characters in that game. Also, Nightmare Batman is amazing. But yeah, right now they have a limited number of characters. I think there's like 10 or 12 total. There's not a whole lot. But you do still have your 5 classes, your carries, your support, your assassins. So definitely a good game to check out. If right now Beta 2 is currently closed. I heard rumor that they're going to be putting up Beta 3. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I heard. But yeah, basically you have a giant map, like basically figure League of Legends map, but it's completely open. It's not like 3 lanes or whatever. Earlier on in the game, like when you're like lower level characters, you do 3-man teams, and then as you go up, you can get more and more people per game. Make it more of a free for all battle royale kind of thing. Definitely cool. You still have your teams, so
and unfortunately,
it's not a total battle royale.
Unfortunately, none of us have gotten our beta to work, so we can't give you a whole lot of detail on it, other than the videos that you've probably already seen on YouTube and stuff that was going on during E3 coverage and everything else.
Beta worked just last night. It told me like 5-minute long for possible queue in, and I'm like, I'm not waiting in a queue for 5 minutes. I'm gonna go back to play my League.
Video game impatience is still up. Gamer impatience, right there.
Yeah, kind of iffy on for that.
I want to rapidly hit A.
Keyboard, dude. Keyboard.
Maybe it'll load faster if I just hit all the buttons at once.
All right, face keyboard. Just
right,
smash my laptop
keyboard
in
crunch,
my
that
head.
stuff. There's a few things we still need to talk about. One of the big ones that I want to get into is Deadpool. Recent video game that's come out. A lot of people, a lot of hype for it. Everyone was really excited to see this game for the PS3, for the Xbox 360, and for the PC. This game is a little bit different than most games because, of course, Deadpool is a very self-aware kind of comic book character. Ben, you have played through the game in its entirety. You were also part of a midnight release for said game.
The only one within the region or the country, or at least 500 miles of where we're standing. Right now.
All right. So that was a pretty big deal.
A little bit, yeah.
So that's pretty interesting. So off to our Deadpool fanatic.
Dude, we had a blast in the midnight. We were all looking really forward to it. But when we finally got the game, I didn't talk to one person who didn't sit down for 4 hours and just book through it. Like our eyes were bleeding open. You know what I'm saying? Like we had a great time.
We have
what
people
is this
gathered
blinking
around.
You speak of?
Blink? How do you? When I see a video game, all I do is stare. Eyes are dry. Just drip. Just give me an IV of Visine, whatever, so I don't have to.
I mean, usually before I sit down to play a video game, I turn on the console while loading screens are popping up, put in a couple eye drops, sit back and veg out.
Prepare
and
for the long
hopefully,
haul.
We're
getting absolutely ridiculous.
I get bored or angry or something. Maybe the batteries of my controller die, whatever, before I have to go to work so that I'm not late.
Yeah. Going straight into Deadpool, I want you to tell the viewers we want to know exactly what's all about this game because unfortunately I did not get a chance to play it through in its entirety. I got a chance to hang out with some people that were playing it. We had a crowd gathered around of people just laughing their ass off at all the things going on in this game.
Yeah, the one thing you get out of this game is laughs. You got your money worth. But as far as story goes, it's classic Deadpool. It's made straight for the fans. The very first level, I guess, before you go into the tutorial, is all It all sets up the plot, and it's all breaking the fourth wall as part of the plot. He contacts the producer of High Moon Studios, the studio that put out the game, and talks about the script with him on the phone as the script is happening.
Right.
You get to explore Deadpool's apartment. There's plenty of Easter eggs for fans. Like, you get to trade paperbacks on the wall that are on our wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Great potty jokes all over the place. Like, Deadpool is like an essential. You get the potty jokes in there. But as you get into the gameplay of it, I loved it. It's fun. It's simple. Brings that kind of resonance with Batman, Arkham City kind of games where you have the kind of hack slash combo build up kind of thing. Great weapon upgrades. You get the counter system in there. The counter works with the combos. They go classic Deadpool as far as weapons and abilities goes. You got your healing factor, obviously. Great graphics on the kind of damage Deadpool takes. Like, if you die in the middle of an epic battle and they go back to that loading screen, like retry or quick game, he's standing there like fully scarred or cut up and everything like that. Those great things you want to see as part of your character, you're gonna get. Like, hands down, I haven't talked to one single person who hasn't got that from the game.
Now, how does he die though? Isn't he immortal? I'm pretty sure he got that ability.
Yeah, you got to make it a challenge. You know, like he's incapacitated. Shall we say? Got to try again.
So does he get back up like Contra, or do you just restart the thing?
You restart at a checkpoint.
As if does he do that in a fourth? Does he do that through the fourth wall as well?
Oh yeah. If you get knocked down, he gets up and ridicules you for being a terrible player at this game, and then goes back into the fray. But it's all about X-Men. He fights mostly on Genosha. So any avid X-Men fan knows Genosha was like the home island of mutants and stuff like that. He goes there after it's destroyed. Mr. Sinister's causing a ruckus. Expert in cloning Mr. Sinister, so you got clones of Gambit blowing themselves up all around you. Blob-esque kind of a charger attacks, like a good range of enemies. Classic hack and slash game, really, as far as gameplay goes. I'm very pleased with it. I played it for the story just because I'm a fan of the thing. I'm not as big a big gamer, like analyzing the out of it. Only complaint was once you finish the story and you've gotten through the challenges, played a few hours on it, there's not a ton else to do, but I think they recognize that with the price point on the game, which is $50, right? Not $60 as a
right. It came out at $49.99, which is $10 less than your typical new game price, which I think was a good move for them. It allowed them to breach the market a little easier. I can't tell you how many people at my job got more excited for the game when they found out that, oh my God, because they kind of expected what you just talked about, like a game that's really fun and appealing to fans. But they expected a shorter gameplay experience. But everyone who I've talked to that picked it up, they could not be happier with it in terms of just what they paid, what they got for it,
what they wanted from it.
Right.
And I kept myself in the dark before the game came out, but afterwards I read interviews with the developers and whatnot, and they made no like excuses for what they put out. They said, we're not trying to break the innovation game market.
Right, because these kinds of games exist. Yeah. Having guns and having swords and running around and killing things.
Cool. They wanted their character, or your character, they wanted the fans' character displayed to the fans' liking, and I could not complain at all about it. Like, you got exactly what you wanted from Deadpool. Great cameos. I mean, his best buddy Cable shows up. The woman he's in love with, Death, has a great level dedicated to her. Cable's hilarious.
Well, of course.
All the great. There's great little moments that break up the game too, where it's great action and you keep going, but then there's the cinematics are in. You interact with them really well.
It's like the biggest thing is that fourth wall. Yeah, he's very self-aware, and so is the game.
Yeah, they embrace it to a T. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you said that the original writer for Deadpool, the creator, he's very involved in the story. Did he write the whole story?
Not the guy who created him, but the guy who wrote one of his longest ongoing series.
Okay.
So not the current writer, the one right before this. He wrote 70 issues of Deadpool, 71 issues. He was one of the main creative writers on the game, and so it shines through. Like, one of my favorite parts I've been selling about the game is that I'll play it, and I know Deadpool, I read everything, but as I'm playing it, it doesn't necessarily sell you the game as you're playing it. You want to go read more into Deadpool. Like, if you've already read it or you haven't read it, you're playing this game, you're thinking, oh shit, like there's more stuff out there. Like, I want to go experience that stuff too. It really gives you a comprehensive...
In a superhero way that all superhero things do. They really want you to learn more about it. They give you enough for the game, but they also give all sorts of incentive to go and read more about those characters.
And they have great pop-ups in the middle of the game. If you run into a cameo character, you hit A fast enough and you get a good researched, like, cool graphic of, like, this character's history, how they involved with Deadpool, how they involved with the Marvel Universe. Cool covers. Like I said, great Easter eggs that, like, if you read the comic, you're like, oh, crap, I have that one in my collection. Sweet, Yeah.
Like,
it's really neat, yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to actually being able to find time to finish it. That's for sure.
Yeah, the nice part about it is it's not a huge investment of time. Like I said, like you play through the story, and I want to play through it again. But I can understand when you play through it, you get everything you want from it as you play through it that one time. Right. Maybe 10 hours of gameplay.
So even a casual gamer that just likes superheroes a little bit can go through it, like yourself. So you're only a casual gamer, but you love superheroes and you love comics.
I'll play any superhero game.
Let's talk a little bit about the accuracies as far as the character goes in that game and in the other games that we've talked about. Because one big thing that superhero fans like is, even with movies, one of the biggest complaints that anyone has is whether or not it's accurate.
I can always respect when a developer will take it in a direction and completely own it. Like
take it in their own direction.
Prime example is the new Superman movie or the Batman trilogy from Christopher Nolan. Like those aren't classic versions of characters. There's going to be indiscrepancies because they wanted to create something unique for you.
Yeah.
Deadpool, I'm not going to say that about because they wanted to take what fans love and give you more of it.
Yeah.
It's very accurate. And like from the joke style to the fourth wall to the fighting moves, like very accurate. Like he uses a teleporter in fighting. It's a unique fighting style. Guns and katanas are staples for him, and they embrace it, and they use it, and you have great combos and great moves and cool. Like, every time I turn it on for the last 2 weeks, I find a new combo or new counter or something that just is so unique to Deadpool that is something I definitely wanted to see. Like, it's really cool. I appreciate everything they put into it that, like, I would already have read and liked.
Yeah, well, that leads us over to the Injustice. How accurate was that with the comics? Because I didn't read all their comics. Some of the characters were kind of new to me.
Injustice is an example of something they want to do uniquely. Like I said, with them creating the comics specifically for the game, they wanted to create this universe, but they made it accessible for people already into DC Comics because it's a crossover essentially. It's our Batman, our Superman, our staple characters that we're used to, their morals and their judgments, and they are interacting with mirror versions of themselves, to say it loosely. You know what I mean? They're running it, and people expect that from DC.
Allows that.
Especially DC fans expect that. They're like, okay, I want to see what would happen if Superman
went off the deep end.
And
took over the world.
If his life was destroyed by some fluke. Like, people think Superman's invulnerable, but there are ways to get to him. I don't want to spoil the game for anybody, but read that first issue of that comic. You'll be hooked to either the game or the comic within 5 minutes, I guarantee.
Superman's one of those, and obviously us in Cleveland, we have a little bit more of a love for Superman since that's where he came from.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people who just kind of assume that he is the third grader's version of a superhero. He's just completely invulnerable, can do all these things. And, there's certain versions of the comics, certain universes where he sat around on a Krypton island and a Kryptonite island and made himself immune to it. So now the only thing that can damage is magic. But that's only one continuity of it. Because there's a multiverse, there's different ways you can write it. They're allowed to make mistakes technically. But like characters like that, you learn as you read more about them that there's so much more to that character. Like, I learned a lot about Superman to actually love him when I used to hate him.
There's this common argument I've been having for the past couple weeks since Superman came out, and that's like, well, they didn't do this, or in Injustice, well, he would never blah. You especially in Cleveland, you ask 1,000 different people what they want from a Superman game, a Superman comic, a Superman character.
You're gonna get
exactly 1,000 different answers because everybody is looking for exactly one different thing.
Their interpretation, yeah. And the wonderful thing about the DC multiverse is you can do that,
right?
Because you can give everyone what they want.
At some point, you can eventually
universe,
please
like
everybody.
Earth 1, Earth 23,
Superman,
Earth 40.
Superman is the best example of that, especially recently. They did a comic called Superman Earth 1, which for anyone who's not really a fan of Superman, I would highly recommend.
I actually borrowed it from this guy and read it, and that was one of the big things. Besides that and Birthright are the two graphic novels that really sold Superman for me and made me understand stuff I didn't
Earth 1,
think of.
It shows you Superman in a new way. And then they do again with Red Sun, which is something they emphasized with Injustice as well, with one of the pre-order packs, I believe it was from GameStop. They gave you the Red Sun Superman storyline to play through. For those of you who aren't familiar, Superman's rocket ship in 1942, instead of crashing in Kansas, 1940s. I'm not that big a Superman fan. but instead of crashing in Kansas, it crashes in Soviet Russia, and he gets picked up by Stalin and eventually leads the Soviet Union in the war against their greatest enemy, the Truth, Justice, and American Way champion, Lex Luthor. Humanity's lowest enemy.
They still make it classic.
Exactly. Right. And in another version of Superman in Earth 2, he dies in the first issue of that run. Him, Batman, and Wonder Woman all die. It's great to see them do different things, and the multiverse, the 52 universes in DC really allow them a lot of awesome creativity and different ways to portray the same Earth through different lenses.
Yeah, you have to go.
It's awesome.
Sorry, you have to go looking for those differences. It's great, but you have to invest yourself in like appreciating the shift changes. Not everyone's going to be pleased by either one of them, but that's what's great about DC. You got your options.
Right? Yeah, DC allows for you to interpret it how you want, and that's wonderful. I mean, I have no complaints about that.
You're the comics expert, so I mean, you both know your comics, you both know your video games. You use a little bit more so with the video games, you a little bit more so with the comics. You're
pretty much,
but you've at least played the game simply because they had superheroes in them to at least find out.
Yeah, I'm not a fighting game person at all. As far as Injustice goes, like I was hesitant to pick it up.
I convinced him. He was. Honestly, you were more apprehensive than I thought you would be.
Yeah.
There was literally, and there was a lot of doubt surrounding that game too, because simply because of NetherRealms. Yeah. Everyone thought it was going to be another Mortal Kombat versus DC, where it was a little watered down. The storyline was very vague and choppy, and I mean, graphically, that game wasn't even that great for when it came out too. It came out alongside other games, and it was just. Unimpressive.
No, innovation, no here.
No, innovation, no here.
They actually stepped down from the previous Mortal Kombat graphics to make the Mortal Kombat vs. DC.
They did, which was disappointing.
They got back up to where they needed to be with Injustice, and I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, but like the biggest point that I want to make here, the biggest thing I want information on is how you feel. Like if you had complaints about certain games before. With accuracy wise, what would they be? Like, because there are certain things nowadays are getting a lot more accurate with it. But do you feel that it was like a giant jump, or they've gradually worked their way into it?
As far as superhero games go, I would have to say I don't have a lot of complaints accuracy wise, because like Marvel games especially, they have staples. They are very clear about how these characters came into existence and how they treat the world around them. Mm-hmm. Like Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I guess the Lego Batman games, even which is kind of weird. They're very accurate. They're very sticking to the bullet points of each character. And Ultimate Alliance was a big fan. That was a fan favorite for me. You had the great trivia contest with in each stage when you get to the home base. There's 30 trivia questions you go through, and they're all straight from the Marvel Universe, obscure, unobscure.
Speaking of the trivia questions, we haven't got our answers in yet for that poster.
Yeah, I would love give an answer for this. We want an answer.
That Deadpool comic, he was in a DC comic.
You are
out of his universe.
Radio show.
Yeah,
right. At this point,
you have the internet. Cheat if you have to.
It's a hard question.
It is a hard question. Actually, you might have a hard time Googling it. That's the fun part.
Just remember 888-668-0742. And come on, I want an answer for this. I don't care if it's an actual answer.
Someone in the chat room actually gave it away, but no one's calling in with the answer.
Yeah.
So if you want the poster, check the chat room.
Right.
Poster.
But
you want it.
As far as Injustice goes,
Get it out of my car.
It's unprecedented because of the inclusion of the multiverse. No DC game has
they just chose one
accurately.
Usually.
Yeah, they made up their own. They really did. I mean, DC has all these Earth number designates, like number 2's the Justice Society universe. 23 is the black version of superheroes universe. We were looking them all up on the phone earlier, but Injustice gets its own. That's now a canon staple of the DC multiverse, and it's cool to see that crossover, because that opens up the door later on for everything. A sequel to the game, a sequel to the comics, a just going into the comics from the game, for people who want that. It's great.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the topic of superheroes, let's jump into a quick overlay of HeroClix, the tabletop game that was mentioned
this
earlier.
is something we're going to have a whole lot of and be able to get into in depth, obviously, because it's a tabletop game. We don't really have it here, but for those who might be looking into something that is a different avenue in gaming with them, but it still allows them to do something accurate with superheroes.
I mean, these guys
quick
have no shortage of friends who play this game, but it's a tabletop game. You have a map with a grid.
Like chess with superheroes.
It's like a chessboard. Essentially, there's different types of terrain you could play. I mean, the maps are everything comic accurate. You can play in Smallville or Destroyed Metropolis.
Bizarro World's a personal favorite.
The Hulk's Gamma Bomb site, and so you pick your team. There's different ways to build a team based on point totals, and you put them on the board and fight each other.
All right. Well, I definitely want to thank our guests, Ben Mundy and Matt Dixon, for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
And thank everybody listening in. Bobby, I appreciate you. We're going to get your contact information and meet up with you tonight at Smedley's Bar and Grill for anyone else who wants to meet up with the host of the show and
Dollar
our
Draft
guest.
Night.
Dollar Draft Night on West Park.
Carol and John's Comics.
Like us on Facebook again, Unlocked Radio, unlockedradio.com to get all the information, see previous things, and morningshowcentral.com. Check us out. We'll see you later.
All right, and check out Carolyn Johns.
That too.
Cam's Corners, West Park.